Welcome back. You might be carrying a nickel in your pocket right now. That could make you a millionaire. Sounds crazy? Well, some of the rarest Jefferson nickels have sold for tens, sometimes hundreds, of thousands of dollars. And today, I'll show you 7 of them that could change your life. Let's start. Number 1. Have you ever looked at a regular nickel and wondered, could this small coin be worth thousands of dollars? Well, today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and surprising coins in U.S. coin collecting history, the 1975 Jefferson nickel. A coin so common in your change, yet one rare variety has stunned collectors and sold for tens of thousands of dollars at auction. Now, not every old coin is rare. That's something many collectors learn the hard way. Just because a coin says 1975 doesn't make it valuable. But if you know what to look for, if you understand the small, hidden details, you can turn an ordinary-looking coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Let's talk about the 1975 Jefferson nickel. This coin was minted in Denver and features President Thomas Jefferson on the front, and his famous home, Monticello, on the back. Millions were struck, over 400 million to be exact. So what makes one of them worth so much money? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and something known as full steps. Now here's a tip that every serious collector should know. When grading Jefferson nickels, one of the key things to check is the steps on the Monticello building. These are the steps that lead up to the front of the house on the reverse side of the coin. If those steps are fully struck, meaning you can clearly count 5 or 6 sharp, uninterrupted lines, that's a big deal. It means the coin was struck with extra precision and care. And those coins are incredibly rare. Most 1975 nickels come weakly struck, with blurry or incomplete steps. So when a coin surfaces with full steps, especially in near-perfect condition, it becomes a hot item at auctions. We're talking ultra-rare territory, but that's not all. In some extremely rare cases, there may also be slight die errors, like doubling or unusual die polish marks, that can increase the value even further. Always check the mint mark under magnification. On the 1975 the D should be sharp and properly placed. Any unusual positioning or doubling could indicate a mint error, and that's where things get interesting. Now here's where things get really exciting. Did you know that the most valuable US 5-cent coin ever sold wasn't even a modern nickel? It was the legendary 1913 Liberty Head nickel, a coin so rare that only 5 are known to exist. In 2018, one of them sold for an unbelievable $4.5 million at auction. That's right, a 5-cent coin that sold for over $4 million. Just goes to show, nickels can be serious money. So, what kind of money are we talking about? Let's say you find a circulated 1975 nickel in decent shape. It might only be worth face value. Maybe a few bucks to a collector. But if you find one with full steps, in mint state condition, especially graded MS66 or higher by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC, the price jumps dramatically. Some collectors have paid over $500 for high-grade examples. And for extremely high-end coins, we're talking near-perfect full steps, brilliant luster, and excellent strike. The prices can climb into the thousands, and then there's the ultra-rare example. The one that stunned the coin world when it sold at a major auction. It looked like an ordinary 5-cent coin, but under the surface, it was nearly flawless. A dream find for any collector, and when the hammer fell, that 1975 Jefferson nickel sold for a jaw-dropping $67,000. Yes, that's $67,000 for a single nickel. Now, of course, not every 1975 will bring that kind of money. It all depends on the condition, the strike, and the collector demand at the time. But if you're checking your pocket change, or going through an old coin jar, keep an eye out for sharp steps, clean surfaces, and that little D mint mark, because sometimes the smallest coins can carry the biggest surprises. Number 2. There are millions of coins floating through our hands every single day, but every now and then, one of those coins is hiding a secret. A coin that looks ordinary, but holds extraordinary value. And today, we're talking about one of those rare treasures, the 1971 Jefferson nickel. A coin that every expert collector dreams of finding. A coin that serious dealers are constantly hunting for. And a coin whose value just keeps rising, year after year. Now let's be clear, not every old nickel is worth big money. But the 1971D? That's a different story. This one is special. And in some rare cases, incredibly valuable. The 1971D Jefferson nickel was minted in Denver, with a huge production run of over 315 million coins. That's a massive number. So naturally, you'd think they're all common, right? But here's the thing. Most of those coins were poorly struck. Weak details. Blurry steps. Surface marks. All the usual signs of mass production. But a handful of them, maybe just a few out of millions, were struck with such precision, such clarity, that they've become the stuff of legend among collectors. We're talking about the full steps variety. And if you're new to Jefferson nickels, here's what that means. On the reverse side of the coin, you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's historic home. At the bottom of the building, there are steps leading up to the entrance. On most nickels, those steps are worn down or weakly struck. But on a true full steps example, you can count 5 or 6 sharp, clear, unbroken lines. That level of detail is incredibly rare, especially on coins from the early 1970s. And the 1971D is one of the hardest to find in full steps condition, but there's more. Some examples of the 1971D have been found with unusual die characteristics, signs of overpolishing, double striking, or minting anomalies. These errors add even more value, especially when combined with a full steps strike and a high-grade surface. Coin dealers across the country are always on the lookout for this one. And collectors know that finding one is like hitting the jackpot. Why? Because this coin doesn't just have value today, it has potential. Experts believe that in the coming years, prices will soar even higher. Some even believe that this nickel could eventually become $1 million coin. Yes, $1 million for a 5-cent piece. So if you happen to find a 1971D Jefferson nickel in your pocket change, don't rush to spend it. Look at the steps. Check the surfaces. Look closely under magnification. And if you see that full steps detail, or notice anything unusual, set that coin aside. Do not spend it. Not yet. You might be holding a future fortune. Now let's talk numbers. In lower circulated condition, most 1971D nickels are only worth face value. But coins in higher uncirculated grades, especially MS65 or better, can bring in $20, $50, even $100 from collectors who need it for their full step sets. If the coin has strong eye appeal and full steps, the price can jump dramatically. Some certified full steps examples have sold for $5,000 to $10,000. And in even rarer cases, when the coin is graded MS66 or MS67 with full steps, the bidding starts to get serious. And then there are the elite specimens, the ultra-rare few that have been preserved in near-perfect condition. These coins don't just set records, they make headlines, and that's exactly what happened when one 1971D Jefferson nickel, nearly flawless, full steps, and certified by a top grading company, hit the auction block. It shocked collectors. It sparked bidding wars. And when the hammer finally fell, the price stunned everyone watching. That one small nickel sold for between $60,000 and $120,000, all depending on condition, strike quality, and collector demand. So yes, this is the kind of coin that can change your life. If you find one, keep it safe. Because sometimes, the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight, right in your pocket. Number 3. Most people walk right past nickels without a second thought. They're small, they're common, and they're everywhere. But what if I told you there's one nickel out there that collectors go wild for? A coin so rare, so mysterious, that it's believed to be a minting mistake, and a once-in-a-generation discovery. That coin is the 1964 Jefferson nickel with the DE mint mark on the reverse. And if you've got one, you might be holding a fortune. Let's set the scene. It's 1964. The United States Mint is producing billions of coins to meet the country's growing demand. Among them, the Jefferson nickel, struck in both Philadelphia and Denver. Normally, mint marks are placed on the front of the coin, to the right of Jefferson's portrait. That's the standard. That's what collectors expect, but then something strange happened. A small number of 1,964 nickels were discovered with the D mint mark, not on the front, where it belonged, but on the reverse, underneath the Monticello building. This was a design placement used in earlier decades, but by 1964, the mint mark had long been moved to the obverse. So how did this happen? The answer points to a rare and accidental die reuse. It's believed that an old reverse die with a D mint mark from a previous year was mistakenly used during production. That's not supposed to happen. Dies are carefully tracked and retired when designs are updated. But somehow, one slipped through the cracks, and that slip created one of the rarest varieties in modern U.S. coin history, the 1964 Dion reverse Jefferson nickel is incredibly hard to find. Most collectors have never seen one in person. In fact, many don't even know it exists. That's how rare it is. But for those in the know, the expert collectors and serious dealers, this coin is the stuff of dreams. Now let's talk about what to look for. Start by flipping the coin over. If you see a small D mint mark directly underneath Monticello, just above the word 5 cents, you might be looking at the ultra-rare reverse variety. Compare it with a normal 1964 nickel. The difference is clear. On a standard issue, there should be no mint mark on the reverse. It should be on the obverse, beside Jefferson's shoulder. Finding a genuine reverse D in high grade is even rarer. Most examples, if they exist, are circulated. But a few uncirculated specimens have surfaced over the years, and when they do, the coin community pays close attention. In lower grades, this coin might go unnoticed. But if it's authenticated and graded by a top-tier service like PCGS or NGC, the value can climb fast. Even worn examples can bring in a few $100s, simply because of the variety. But now, let's talk about high-grade, investment-level coins, a sharp strike. Full steps on Monticello. Clean surfaces. If a 1964 Dion reverse nickel has all that, it enters a whole different category. Prices begin to climb into the thousands. Some rare examples in uncirculated condition have been known to sell for $5,000, $10,000, even more, depending on the quality and demand at the time. And then came the one that stunned collectors everywhere, a nearly flawless specimen, sharp details, brilliant luster, full steps, authenticated and certified by experts, and offered at a major auction. It created buzz in the coin world. Bidding was intense. Collectors knew exactly what they were fighting for, and when the auction ended, that small nickel, the 1964 Jefferson with the rare reverse D mint mark, sold for an astonishing $62,000. Yes, $62,000 for a 5-cent coin that most people would never give a second glance. So what's the lesson here? Check your change. Look twice at your nickels. And if you happen to spot that small D under Monticello, don't spend it, not yet. You just might be holding one of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever made, because in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest detail can lead to the biggest treasure. Number 4. Sometimes, a coin slips through your fingers without you ever realizing its true value. It might sit in your change jar, ride in your pocket, or lie forgotten in an old dresser drawer. But if you're a sharp-eyed collector, or just lucky enough to be paying attention, you might stumble across something incredible. And today, we're talking about one of those hidden treasures, the 1972 D. Jefferson nickel. A coin so rare in top condition, it's become a legend among collectors, and a coin that could be worth thousands, even tens of thousands, if you find the right one. Now, let's talk basics. The 1972 D nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, with a massive production of over 300 million coins. On the surface, there's nothing unusual. It has the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front, and the Monticello building on the reverse. It looks like every other nickel from the early 70s. But the devil, as always, is in the details. What separates the common from the valuable is something known as strike quality, and one detail in particular that collectors chase: full steps. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, just below Monticello's columns, there's a staircase. On most coins, those steps are weak, blurry, or partially struck, which makes sense, considering the high-speed minting process. But every now and then, a coin is struck so perfectly, so sharply, that you can clearly see 5 or 6 full steps, unbroken, from left to right. That's rare. That's desirable. And that's what makes a Jefferson nickel worth serious money. The 1972D is notoriously hard to find with full steps. The Denver Mint that year produced coins with average to weak strikes, which means very few examples have that razor-sharp staircase detail. And when one does show up, especially in high mint state condition, collectors take notice. But full steps aren't the only thing that can boost the value. Dyed polished lines, off-center strikes, and unusual planchet characteristics can also raise the value of a coin. The problem is, most people don't know what to look for. They see a 1972 nickel and think, oh, just another old coin. But with the right combination of condition and rarity, that simple nickel could be your next big payday. So here's what to look for if you're checking your pocket change or searching through rolls. Flip the coin over and look at Monticello. Focus on the steps. Are they fully defined? Can you count them clearly without breaks? If yes, you might have something special. Next, check the coin's overall surface. Is it free of major marks or scratches? Does it still have its original mint luster? The cleaner and sharper the coin, the more likely it is to grade high and bring in big money at auction. Even in average uncirculated condition, a 1972D nickel with decent detail can fetch between $10 and $50. That might not sound like much, but remember, we're just getting started. Once you hit higher mint state levels, say MS65 or MS66, and the coin displays full steps, the value jumps dramatically. We're now talking several $100s, possibly over $1,000, depending on market demand, but the real excitement comes when you enter the elite category. A near-perfect 1972D Jefferson nickel, with full steps, incredible luster, and top-tier eye appeal, is a prize for any serious collector. These coins are almost impossible to find. And when one shows up at a major auction, it becomes the center of attention. And that's exactly what happened not long ago. One of the finest known examples, a 1972D Jefferson nickel with full steps, brilliant surfaces, and pristine quality, crossed the auction block. Bidding was fierce. Collectors recognized the rarity. And the final hammer price? It shocked everyone. That little 5-cent coin, the kind most people would ignore, sold for an incredible $57,000. Yes, $57,000 for a single nickel. And it all came down to condition, strike, and a deep understanding of what makes a coin truly rare. So if you come across a 1972D Jefferson nickel, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Because sometimes, the rarest treasures hide in the most ordinary places. Number 5. In the world of coin collecting, every now and then, a coin comes along that completely changes the game. A coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but hides a story of history, war, and incredible value. One such coin is the 1943P Jefferson nickel. A 5-cent piece that's not only ultra-rare and high grade, but one that every serious collector dreams of finding. And today, we're diving into what makes this nickel so special, and why it could be worth a small fortune if you happen to come across one. Let's rewind the clock to 1943. The United States was deep in the middle of World War II. The military needed critical resources, especially metals like nickel, which were essential for armor plating and weapons production. To conserve this metal for the war effort, the U.S. Mint made a bold change. They altered the composition of the 5-cent coin. From 1942 to 1945, Jefferson nickels were struck using a special wartime alloy, 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. These coins are commonly referred to as war nickels. But here's the key. During these years, the mint marks were moved to a new, highly visible spot, above Monticello on the reverse side of the coin. That includes the large P mint mark for Philadelphia, which had never appeared on a US coin before. That small P tells a much bigger story. The 1943 P Jefferson nickel is part of this silver wartime series, and although millions were produced, finding one in top-tier condition, especially with full steps, is an entirely different challenge. You see, wartime nickels were softer because of the silver content. They wore down quickly in circulation. Most of the coins from 1943 are found in average condition, showing wear, dull surfaces, and faded details. But a select few managed to survive in pristine shape, untouched, uncirculated, and sharply struck. These are the coins collectors go crazy for. Now let's talk about what to look for if you think you've got a 1943 P Jefferson nickel. First, flip the coin over. Just above Monticello, you'll see a large P mint mark, bold and centered. That alone tells you this is a wartime silver issue. But now comes the real test, the steps. Look closely at the base of Monticello. Are the steps fully struck? Can you clearly count 5 or 6 lines without any breaks? That's what collectors call a full steps coin, and it's extremely rare, especially for wartime nickels. If you've got full steps, you're already ahead of the game. But the real value comes with the coin's grade. Coins in circulated condition, with moderate wear, usually sell for a few dollars, mostly because of their silver content. Better examples, with nice luster and minimal wear, can fetch between $20 and $100. But uncirculated coins? That's where things start to get exciting. A certified 1943 P Jefferson nickel in mint state 65, with full steps, might sell for several $100s. In MS 66, the price can jump to over $1,000. And if you're lucky enough to find one graded MS 67 or higher, with stunning luster and flawless detail, now you're talking serious money. Because coins like that, they don't come around often. They're the top of the population. The best of the best. And when one of those elite examples came up for auction, graded, verified, and fully struck, it set off a bidding war among collectors who knew exactly what they were looking at. When the final bid was placed, and the auctioneer's hammer came down, the final sale price left everyone speechless. That small wartime nickel, the 1943 P with full steps and stunning condition, sold for a jaw-dropping $68,000, yes. $68,000 for a 5-cent coin minted during the Second World War. So what's the lesson here? Don't underestimate what's in your change jar. Don't ignore that old coin collection sitting in a drawer. Because sometimes, a small detail, like a bold P mint mark, or a sharp set of steps, can turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. If you have a 1943 P Jefferson nickel, take a closer look. And if it checks all the boxes, don't spend it, not yet. You might be holding a piece of history, and a whole lot of value. Number 6. Sometimes, the most valuable things in life are hiding in plain sight. And when it comes to US coins, nothing proves that better than the Jefferson nickel. To most people, it's just pocket change, something you drop in a vending machine or toss into a jar. But what if I told you there's a 5-cent coin from 1974 that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? A coin so rare and mysterious that even seasoned collectors are still searching for the perfect specimen? That's right. Today, we're talking about the ultra-rare 1974 Jefferson nickel. A coin that looks simple on the surface, but under the right conditions, is pure gold for collectors. Let's start with what makes the 1974 Jefferson nickel so special. In that year, the Denver and Philadelphia mints struck millions of nickels. The design was the same as it had been for decades. Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, Monticello on the reverse. No major design changes. No fancy commemoratives. But here's the twist. While most of those coins were struck in standard quality and entered circulation without much fanfare, a very small number were struck with extraordinary sharpness and precision, and among those few, even fewer survived in perfect uncirculated condition with full steps, one of the most important features in Jefferson nickel collecting. So, what are full steps? On the reverse of the nickel, right at the base of Monticello, there's a small staircase. On most nickels, these steps are weakly struck, blurry, or even missing altogether. But a full steps nickel shows all 5 or 6 lines clearly, no breaks, no flattening, just clean, crisp steps across the base. It may sound small, but that detail makes all the difference in the world of grading. Now let's talk about the real hunt. Because the 1974 Jefferson nickel is notoriously difficult to find with full steps and high grade, many coins from that year were struck with worn dies or under lower pressure, which led to soft details, especially on the steps. That means full steps examples are rare. Combine that with finding one in pristine, untouched condition, and you've got yourself a serious rarity. But it doesn't stop there. There are also rumors and reports of off-metal errors and double dies from 1974, though they're incredibly scarce. Some coins show slight doubling on the date or Monticello, which adds even more value, especially when authenticated. Others were struck on foreign planchets by mistake. Every one of these rare varieties adds to the mystique of the 1974 nickel. So how much are we talking? A circulated 1974 Jefferson nickel won't bring much, maybe 5 to 10 cents. Even most uncirculated coins without full steps can sell between $5 and $30 depending on condition. But the value really climbs when you reach MS65 and above with full steps. That's where the game changes. In MS66, full steps examples can sell for hundreds of dollars. MS67 full steps. Now you're into the low thousands. Only a handful of these are known, and demand keeps rising. Why? Because Jefferson nickel collectors are some of the most dedicated in the entire hobby, and they know how hard it is to find these coins at the highest grade. And then, one of the finest known 1974 Jefferson nickels showed up at auction. It was flawless. Razor-sharp strike. Brilliant surfaces. Verified full steps. A true gem. Collectors immediately recognized the rarity. Bidding was intense. And when the final gavel came down, the price stunned even veteran dealers. That 5-cent coin, the 1974 Jefferson nickel in nearly perfect condition, sold for a staggering $60,000. Yes. $60,000 for a coin millions of people have held in their hands. And most never gave a second glance. So what does that mean for you? It means the next time you're going through old change, or searching coin rolls, don't overlook the Jefferson nickels. Look at the dates. Check the reverse. Study the steps. Because the treasure isn't always in gold or silver, sometimes it's in 5 cents of nickel and copper, and who knows, your 1974 nickel might just be the next one to make headlines. Number 7. Every coin tells a story. And sometimes, the most unexpected coins carry the most valuable secrets. A simple 5-cent piece from the 1970s might not seem like much, but for collectors, certain dates can mean everything. Today, we're diving into one of those hidden gems, a coin that has become a silent obsession for experts and collectors across the country. The 1973 Jefferson nickel. On the surface, the 1973 nickel seems just like any other. Millions were minted. You've probably handled dozens of them without even noticing. But among all those coins, there are a few, just a few, that stand out as ultra-rare, high-value treasures. And if you know what to look for, one of them could be hiding in your collection, your coin jar, or even your next coin roll. Let's start with the basics. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced Jefferson nickels at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. These coins feature the classic design, Jefferson's profile on the front, Monticello on the reverse. But not all coins are created equal. While most were struck for general circulation, a small number were minted with exceptional quality, crisp details, brilliant surfaces, and the key feature that turns a regular nickel into a true collector's dream, full steps. If you're new to coin collecting, here's what that means. On the reverse side, at the base of Monticello, there's a staircase. On most nickels, the steps are flat, blurry, or incomplete due to worn dies or weak strikes. But when a coin is struck perfectly, you'll see 5 or 6 full, unbroken steps. That's what collectors call full steps, and it's one of the biggest indicators of rarity and value in the Jefferson nickel series. The 1973 nickel is especially hard to find with full steps. Most examples from that year have soft details, especially on the reverse. That makes well-struck coins extremely rare. And if you combine full steps with high mint state grades, you've got something truly valuable. So what's the market like for these? Let's say you find a 1973 nickel in uncirculated condition but without full steps. Depending on the grade, that might fetch anywhere from $5 to $50. Still a nice upgrade from face value. But the real excitement starts when you get into coins graded MS65 or higher with full steps. In MS65 full steps, a 1973 Jefferson nickel could be worth a few $100s. At MS66, that number climbs into the low thousands. And at MS67 or higher, with flawless luster and razor-sharp detail, the coin becomes a true showpiece. These are coins that collectors fight over. The kind of nickels that don't just sit in collections, they make headlines, and it's not just about steps. Some rare varieties have been reported, including minor double dies and off-center strikes from 1973. While these are less common, they add serious value, especially when authenticated and combined with strong grades. So the big question is, has a 1973 Jefferson nickel ever sold for a fortune? The answer? Yes, when one of the finest known examples, a 1973 Jefferson nickel in pristine mint state, with gorgeous surfaces and unmistakable full steps, crossed the auction block, collectors knew it was something special. There was buzz in the room. Bidders from all over the country jumped in. And after a heated back and forth, the final price stunned everyone watching. That 5-cent coin, the same kind most people overlook, sold for an astonishing $56,000. $56,000 for a single nickel, and it all came down to condition, rarity, and the power of full steps. So if you've got a 1973 nickel, whether it's tucked away in a drawer, a coin folder, or just sitting in your change jar, take a closer look. You might be holding something far more valuable than you realize, because in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest details can lead to the biggest discoveries.